Your teenage child has been diagnosed with functional neurological disorder, short for FND, that includes non-epileptic seizures, PNES or NES. The school year is starting, and regardless of the school situation your child is in, you as a parent are prepared. Let me ask you this. Do you think it's really a good idea to cut back on the hours or caseload for your child who's struggling with FND, especially if the goal is for you and your child to get rid of FND? Because the answer might be surprising. Well, hey, my name is Dr. Lee. I'm a pediatric health psychologist and the founder of Teen FND Academy. Cutting back on school is a bad idea for teens with FND, especially if the goal is to get rid of or resolve FND. And here's why. But first of all, what is FND? It is an umbrella term to describe this neuroconnectivity communication problem between the brain and the body, even though your child's brain and body are structurally and physically quote unquote okay. It is a real diagnosis and your child's not making things up. And it's not just one thing that is causing the problem. It is a biological, psychological, and then social problem 100% of the time, regardless of what your child is experiencing within the umbrella of FND. So why cutting back on school is a bad idea? Well, simply put, if your goal is to get rid of FND, and I hope that your child's goal is also the same, to get rid of FND, then subtracting the workload is kind of like trying to move pieces of furniture out of a burning house, thinking it would give you a room to move around and breathe and then survive a little bit longer. But if your house is on fire, simply moving the pieces of furniture out of the house isn't going to solve the problem. For the same token, cutting back on the school hours, thinking, oh, my child gets so stressed out whenever she goes back to school and it's just way too much homework to do and she's fallen behind and she gets so frustrated and then really stressed out, and then that could trigger her FND symptoms, so we should cut back on that stressful triggers. Logically, it makes sense. But I'm going to tell you why cutting back on these things are not helpful. First of all, if your child is cutting back on the hours, sure, you might be removing these triggers. But once again, the removing the trigger itself isn't the solution. The trigger is one of the triple P's that I have been talking about, which is predisposing factor, what was kind of cooking in the oven, and what is the precipitating factor, what triggers your child to have a symptoms of FND. And a third P is a perpetuating factor. So it's kind of like what's keeping the fire of FND alive. You might be thinking, oh, it's all about the triggers. As long as we take out the triggers out of the formula, then FND is resolved. Not really, just what that is one piece of the puzzles of this triple P. Therefore, as long as there is still the predisposing factors, what's cooking in the oven, and what's keeping the fire of FND alive, aka perpetuating factor, as long as these two things are still there, it doesn't matter whether you take this one P out of the solution, the fire will still keep going. That's why removing or cutting back on the school workload, caseload, homework assignments, hours, and all of that kind of stuff isn't necessarily the solution unless you want your child to continue to suffer from FND for the rest of her life. And then let me walk you through. What does that mean? Because you are not really helping your child to approach the triggers the right way, because what you're essentially teaching your child is this trigger is bad. I, as a parent, I'm going to take that away from you so that you don't have to deal with it. If your child is age 2 or like a toddler age or infant, sure, don't eat these objects. It's going to be really bad and you're not going to know what is what. You don't know any better. So I'm the one who is going to monitor everything. Yes. However, we're talking about teen FND specific. So your child is not 2 anymore and your child is wanting to have more independence and have ability to actually be more insightful and have the tools or ability to build tools and skills to overcome those triggers. But what you're doing unintentionally is you think you're coming from the good place. Absolutely, there's no doubt about it. However, you're basically consciously telling your child, you cannot handle this because this is too much. Therefore, The only thing you can do is to keep avoiding these triggers. And guess what? That is exactly what you're going to be doing for the rest of your life. That's right. Keep avoiding because you have no skills to overcome that. That is the message that your child on the recipient side is getting, whether they like it or not. Therefore, this pattern of, ooh, something bad, we need to avoid it. And in fact, we need to keep avoiding is created, and it will continue to be present in your child's life. And how is this really related to FND? Ooh, this is not good. Fear, fight or flight is really up, and I need to get out of this or keep avoiding it. Fight or flight on steroid. That actually is one of the big perpetuating factors for your child's FND. So even if you think all I can do as a parent is to get this out of the way so that it helps my child. Yeah, it might help in a short term. In a long run, you're not teaching anything valuable. In fact, your teen is learning, oh, this is bad. I need to keep avoiding it. That's why I can't do anything about it. I'm going to need somebody else's or something else's help all the time for the rest of my life. That goes way, way against the grain of resolving from FND. Like I mentioned, if you want to continue to live with FND for the rest of your life, absolutely continue to do that. And if your parent, mom's instinct or dad's instinct is telling you, ooh, the school is bad. Every time school starts, my child gets worse. So we need to do something about school. Well, school necessarily isn't the problem. Sure, it doesn't help, but what is really the solution is your child needs to develop the skills to overcome whether the school or other stress in their lives for the rest of their lives, right? So what to do exactly? I have some tips for you. Number one, if you have already talked to school about cutting hours or workload and whatnot, I dare you, please talk to them again and then see if your child can gradually, with air quote, gradually get back to the full-time schoolwork eventually. And gradually is the key, not like head in full on, okay? Because your child needs to have a skills, right? And then build the skills. But that's number one. If you haven't talked to school about it yet, then number two, or could be number one, depending on where you are, talk to yourself and then your child about this ultimate goal. What is the ultimate goal for FND? Is it to get rid of FND no matter how long or what it takes? Or are you guys okay with learn to live with it basically for the rest of your life and then your child's life? Because that is absolutely possible as well, whether you like it or not. If you decide, yes, FND is something I'm going to be having for the rest of my life, then, oh yeah, I guarantee you that your child is going to continue to have it. It's going to be on and off, but it's going to be lingering and sticking around. But if you want to get rid of the FND, then you need to come up with the plan to achieve that goal. If you don't know what the plan is or how to go about it, or if you need a guidance, that is when you absolutely need to think about working with an FND specialist. No more this DIY project. This is your child's health we're talking about, and then you think you know better. Of course, as a parent, you know your child's better than anybody else on the planet. No questions about that. However, just following intuition and things like this, I need to cut back on the hours because my child is really struggling. It sounds very counterintuitive, but I can tell you it doesn't help for your child to get better from FND. So you kind of need to get the guidance, right? Anyway, if you decide on the former, which is to get rid of FND no matter what it takes, then I would say choose your priority. Is it your child's school, friends, extracurricular activities, or health? I see a lot of high achieving families who are actually focusing more on extracurricular activities over anything else and everything else. While I am not here to tell you what to do, I will never do that. I would actually challenge you to ask yourself, what is extracurricular activities if your child's health is down to the dumpster? That's really my question. So if your child's health is at most importance, then that includes FND, then really FND should be the priority. And when I say priority, it doesn't necessarily mean get rid of everything and then just focus on the treatment. Again, that goes against the grain of getting better from FND. However, you need to make up your mind, about that. So then assuming that you still want to get better from FND, meaning get rid of FND, because it is very possible, unlike adult who's got FND, then start with, since the school's starting, sleep-wake cycle to begin with. And that means when the child is going to go to bed and then when the child is waking up for school. At least have that daily schedule established along with your team. So it is not necessarily your job to take on the labor and then basically telling your child, okay, this is it. This is what we're going to be doing. No, you're going to be the co-pilot for your child. Therefore, you guys kind of need to come up with this plan together. So what that means is no more resting or no more sleeping in whenever your child wants, or no more letting things loosey-goosey whenever they want. No more spending hours and hours in their room watching TV, scrolling their phone. None of that. I don't want you as a parent to ever feel powerless in this journey because, again, you are co-pilot and you're not passenger, okay? Again, parents really need to be ready to put your foot down once you and your child agree on that schedule. If the schedule is not agreed, then you need to continue the conversation until the agreement is achieved. And if you cannot put your foot down because there are so many caring parents who are having a hard time, then essentially what I'm saying is that there's no integrity. So if you have no integrity, then how could you expect your child to hold themselves accountable? So once again, there is no quick fix magic potion to get rid of FND. However, the solution is right at your fingertip. And that's why I'm here to walk you through the steps. So talk to your child, coming up with a daily plan, starting with sleep-wake cycle, and then parent, be ready to put your foot down. Like, be consistent, integrity, really important. Be accountable. And then so what the child can do to develop these skills, well, I have some other videos on this YouTube channel and other places, so feel free to check them out. But just to kind of give you the big picture idea, high level, number one thing is bottom-up approach, which means that your child absolutely needs to learn the skills to regulate their autonomic nervous system. So think of the FND symptoms as a tree with a bunch of branches. So let's just say that your child might be having like seizures, right? Or paralysis, brain fogs and pain, numbness, tingling, and, all kinds of things. So these are the symptoms in that tree. What you really need to focus on the bottom-up approach is the root. The root is autonomic nervous system dysregulation. So instead of being bogged down on this each and every symptom and then figuring out what to do, it's almost like you need to water this particular type of water for this branch, and then you need to put this kind of fertilizer for that branch, kind of thing. It's going to drive you crazy, right? So just focus on the root of autonomic nervous system regulation strategies. So there are two things. Think of anything that is soothing, so relaxing, calming, whatever you want to call it. And then also uplifting strategies, because again, you kind of have to regulate the nervous system. So it's not just a relaxing, but also uplifting as well. There are so many different sensory soothing techniques and uplifting strategies and whatnot. And I have some videos on my YouTube channel, so feel free to check them out. But on the high level, what your child can do pretty much all day, every day, is to do these nervous system regulation strategies to begin with. And number two, equally important, that is you included as a parent, is this mindset for challenging yourself at least 1% every day. And I talk a lot about this hero mindset. That doesn't necessarily mean that you have to wear a certain costume or anything, but it's more like the mindset. Rather than being a victim, your child and in yourself, you're going to create no more than a 0 day. So a 0 day meaning like no more days in bed or couch of not doing anything. That would be a 0 day. You're not going to have any of those days anymore. Again, you need to be ready to put your foot down. Sometimes, does that mean that you have to be a bad cop? If that means that you're actually maintaining your integrity and really standing for your child's health, then yeah, so be it, right? You don't have to be a good parent who is losing your child to FND. So which one is important for you? right? And it is okay in the meantime to come up with a reward system to increase the motivation for your child, especially in the first 3 to 4 weeks, because it takes at least 21 days of doing something consistent to build a new habit. Therefore, it's okay as long as the reward is appropriate, safe, and healthy, and then you are okay with it. Then it kind of doesn't really matter what it is. It doesn't have to be a thing or money. It can be a quality thing or time or whatnot. So just come up with that reward system along with your child. You as a parent can set the parameter, right? So you're not basically agreeing to this outrageous reward that your child is just like randomly throwing at you, but your child is the one to actually pick the prize. So you guys are working as a team, pilot and co-pilot. And also, speaking of the mindset, it is really important. The gradual approach is the key because there is no one magic bullet. So think of it as like everything that you do is like a golden BB, So there's a bunch of golden BBs. Takes time, but when you do this enough time with consistency and with the right mindset, you are absolutely able to actually help your teen get better from FND rather than just cutting back on things out of your child. Well, I hope this video was helpful for you to start really thinking about, am I actually doing the right thing? Or is it time for me to really work with a specialist who knows what they're doing? So if you have any more questions, leave a comment below, or you can absolutely join my free Facebook private group for just parents of teens who are struggling with FND. The link is down below. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you in the next video.